have had correspondence on this, but we've chosen to bring this out in our public webcast, and that relates to the election process. So we've got elections, of course, for the Police and Crime Commissioner, some local elections, and then EU referendum and such like coming up in the future. We are approaching these elections in May, and not only for the PCC, but also for local council representatives. What role do the police have in ensuring that election processes are legal? How many officers do you have with the specialist skills and knowledge to police this complex issue?
The police service in the United Kingdom play a very important role in protecting democracy. We have a very important role in any of the election processes. In the particular elections that are coming, we work with the authorities who are responsible for elections, such as the Electoral Commission and the local election returning officers. So, for example, our operations department will assess if there are any particular threats with any particular location or any part of the election process, and will work with local officers and staff in order to provide reassurance to those involved in the process, but as well as to safeguard the democratic actions that are taking place. If there are incidents that take place, the fraud unit, as part of the Serious and Organised Crime branch, facilitate the role of a single point of contact with regard to any electoral malpractice. In general terms, these are some of the offences contrary to the Representations of the People Act 1983. Within that unit, there are 6 trained and accredited and experienced investigators, 3 of whom have first-hand experience of such offences. We undertook, for example, 36 investigations following the elections last year. The SPOC role is shared between 2 of these officers, which encompasses liaison with the returning officers and election managers for each constituency and the Electoral Commission. Either directly or through these roles, matters of electoral malpractice are reported. At the conclusion of each election, a return is made to the Electoral Commission, recording each of the reports made to and investigated by us. It should be noted that in general, only local election malpractice is dealt with by the police. The briefing of candidates is undertaken by the election manager on behalf of the returning officer to make, as far as is possible, candidates aware of their responsibilities during the election process. Very often the things that we are investigating are just through ignorance rather than through any deliberate malicious act. The investigation of such matters requires an attention to detail, which is regularly undertaken by the fraud unit investigators. Challenges which have now been overcome have previously been in correcting understanding and applying the legislation. There is also a general briefing to all officers involved in the electoral process, whether that be, as I say, visible patrol duties or as people who may receive any complaint during the course of the elections.